Hello and welcome to the Red Flash Rundown. I'm Katie Augustine, a senior chemistry major here at SFU. Today we are talking with chemistry professor Dr. Zovinka about his 25th year teaching at St. Francis. How are you, Dr. Z?
Oh, I'm okay, hanging in there.
So, you're celebrating 25 years here. Congratulations.
Thank you. I guess technically this is my 26th. I finished my 25th at the end of last year, so I'm into my 26th.
That's very impressive, though.
Maybe it's a matter of stamina, maybe.
So, let's talk about your career here. What is the most rewarding part of teaching for you?
Well, it's somewhat the obvious answer, I think, for many professors or teachers who have done this for a long time. It's all about the students. The students make it all worthwhile. It's fun. Doesn't mean it's fun every moment of every day. There are stressful times. Grading is challenging, but it's all about working with the students, trying to find ways to connect with students, how to teach the topic in a way that's both understandable and still interesting.
That is very true. But what have you found is the key to helping students succeed over the years?
Patience is a good thing, and patience is a struggle for me. For those who know me will probably be laughing about the whole fact that I said patience, because I'm not a patient person by genetics. It is a challenging thing for me. My temperament is such that I'm ready to jump in, say, we got to do this, let's get going. And teaching requires that you be patient and allow the students to discover and find the answers and not always be told everything. And that is a challenge for me.
It's a challenge for everyone in general. Teaching's a hard thing. But how has your time changed? How has the department changed over your 25 years here?
It's pretty dramatic. At the time, and a lot of people say they wish St. Francis would change faster. Why can't we make these changes? And the change is dramatic and the change is real, but it's not always obvious month to month or year to year. But the new Science Center is a huge change. The growth in the chemistry department is a huge change. The fact that we have a lot more chemists in the department is a huge change. The equipment and the research opportunities are a huge change. So it's very different. If you came back to when I got here in 1994 and I was trying to find who the 4 chemistry majors in total were, to discover who they were, and setting up a chemistry club, and Rock wasn't around and we had no equipment and we were in Sullivan Hall, it's dramatically different.
That would be a very different change to think that this building wasn't here a long time ago.
Yeah, a lot of people are used to this new building, which I still consider the new science building, but chemistry and sciences over in Sullivan Hall were very much grind through the blue collar, and the fact that there was no air conditioning was a thing.
Oh, that would be totally different. But what is your first memory here at St. Francis, your first year of teaching?
So my first year teaching, I actually wasn't sure if I would like being a teacher or would I like being a professor. And so I can distinctly remember sitting in my office, which was wedged between 2 laboratories. You had to get into my office by going through a chem lab. And sitting back there, and Dr. Clark was still finishing up her PhD at North Carolina State, and I was working late one night by myself. And I remember leaning back in the chair saying, I like this. This is all right. And then the follow-up thought was, well, good, because I really didn't have another plan at that point. It doesn't mean that I had a real plan to become a chemistry professor, but I was actually pleased and excited that I was working out and I was enjoying this first real job experience.
I'm sure that was interesting, your first year, and you're unsure.
I think that's true for a lot of people, though. You go through college or you start a job, and do you really know you're going to like it? And the answer often is no. So I think people have to be willing to change. It just worked out that I was fortunate enough that I actually did enjoy what I was doing.
Yeah, change is a big thing, especially teaching here for so long. But I know your students have changed you and personally impacted you over your 25 years. How so?
Well, for better or for worse, all of the chem majors become my kids. Early on, it was a little bit different than dad. Like now, many people have heard chem majors refer to me as Dad, and Becca Krupa very famously would be yelling across the building, "Hey Dad," and everyone could hear it, and there are others who use it now. And so that really is an emotional investment for me. And I share in the successes, and unfortunately or fortunately, I share in the times where the dreams and the challenges force you to go into different directions. Those can be trying times, but I feel it, and I'm not sure if everyone knows that, but I've been emotionally invested in a lot of chemistry majors, if not all of the chemistry majors, over my 25 years here. Originally, when I got here, one of the original chem majors, so to speak, for me was a guy named Stephen Swan, who has since got his PhD at University of Delaware, and then he's moved on to a successful biochemical biotech career. And he was from Tyrone at the time. Dr. Clark and I were living in Tyrone, and we played in softball leagues together and intramural basketball together. So it wasn't quite dad, but it was more like older brother at that point. So it's been an interesting transition, and personally, the students, each and every one, has affected me in a positive way. I cannot thank them all enough.
I can agree with that. You do act like a role model, and sometimes the parent to me too, Z. But so I hear in November you have a book coming out. Can you tell us anything about that?
I can tell you a little bit. It's still in preparation, although it's in production editorial stage. So the book has been written. It is based off of a lot of rock experiences. So a lot of the rock events have been boiled down into experiments, and it's targeted towards 8 to 12-year-olds. I had to do some thinking and internet searching and pondering and rewriting and trying new experiments too. So all told, there are about 40 rock-like experiments in the book targeted to 8 to 12-year-olds, and the target date by the book company is Black Friday.
Black Friday, that's
what a shock, right?
It's a good time to drop a book.
That's the time they want to drop the book, so we'll see. Right now, we're still on schedule.
That's fantastic news. So, you're 25 years here. What are you doing to celebrate 25 years here?
Well, we are modifying Women in Chemistry Day and turned it into Celebrate Chemistry Day, so it'll be open to all students. And this is going to be on Friday, October 25th, and we're bringing back a bunch of alumni to act as mentors to high school students and to our current students. And we're going to have morning sessions for the high school and then some afternoon sessions for our St. Francis students. And we'll have a reception afterwards, but the whole idea is to get everyone together and laugh and cry and hopefully have a good time. And I also hear rumors that a bunch of alumni have been contacted by the Chem Club, and they'll see if more come back than the 4 that I've asked.
Yeah, we do hope that some chemistry alumni come back and visit with us on October 25th. To celebrate Dr. Z's accomplishment here. So thank you, Dr. Zovinka, for being with us today. I am Katie Augustine, and in just a moment we'll be hearing from Devin Tozer about the St. Francis University Rock Program. Stay with us.
Thank you, Katie, for the lovely update with Dr. Zovinka and all of his years of hard work and dedication with St. Francis, as well as thank you for giving us a quick little insight to the 25-year celebration that you are hosting for. Speaking of host, I am your second host for this podcast. I'm Dasha Kirby, a comm student, and we will be staying on the same topic of chemistry, and we have the lovely Mr. Devin Tozer. He's a junior biochemistry major, as well as the student director for the rock program. Thank you for coming, Devin.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, just to dive in a little bit deeper into your life, what are some other extracurricular activities you do other than your busy major and the rock program?
On top of that, I'm also a section leader in the marching band here on campus, and I'm the vice president of service in the Alpha Phi Omega chapter here on campus.
Okay, awesome. So you're not just, dedicated to the chemistry department, you're dedicated to Greek life and the band, which is super, super cool. But for this podcast, we are going to be focusing on the rock program, and as I mentioned, you are the student director of the rock program. Would you just be able to give us a quick little summary or rundown of what rock program is or what it does?
Yeah, so ROC stands for Rural Outreach Chemistry for Kids, so that just means we get to go into local schools to do some hands-on chemistry experiments and demonstrations to garner interest in STEAM programs for young kids to get them interested to see if that is what is right for them growing up and show them there's more opportunities in those fields.
Awesome. Sounds great that you're really, opening up the kids' eyes just to show them that, it's not all about social media, that there is more, there is the rock program, and chemistry is alive and everywhere that you go. Since you did mention you go into schools, is there any special training or special requirements you have to complete to, one, just to be able to join the rock program, and then two, specifically for the schools to be able to go into them?
Yeah, so we have 3 levels of workers for the rock program. We have volunteers, which can be anyone on campus here. All that we require from them is that they at least have the Shine a Light clearance, which is just a little video clearance about how to handle any situations that you might deem inappropriate around young kids, since we are adults working with children. After that, we have rock leaders, which are then also trained to run events at the schools and bring volunteers with them. They, on top of the Shine a Light, have to then have their FBI fingerprint clearance and their state criminal background and child abuse clearance. And the directors then also have the same clearances as the leaders do.
Good to know that your kids are definitely safe. Not saying that they weren't in the first place, but it is good to know that the rock program does go by the laws and by the standards to not only to teach the kids, but to also be safe while teaching the kids. And then your clearances have the power for you to teach kindergarten through 12th grade, which is definitely a daunting task no matter what grade you're teaching. But with the clearances and your knowledge and your power with chemistry, you're able to teach and give them world-on-hands examples. Just a couple activities mentioned on your rock website. You have the Oobleck activity, which is kind of like slime, and that's geared more towards the younger kids, kindergarten through 2nd grade. And then you have more advanced activities and experiments like liquid nitrogen, and that is for kids in 9th grade or above. Since you've been heavily involved in the rock program, do you have any special experiments or lessons that are your favorite?
Yeah, so the liquid nitrogen is definitely our most popular with students and with the schools, but my personal favorite is the oily oceans experiment. Rather than doing some big showy event, it really teaches about the importance of environmental safety and teaches kids what an oil spill really is and how it affects our environment, and steps to help prevent and lower the likelihood of those happening in your area, even at a personal level.
You did mention that sometimes the kids do love the big showy ones, but when it comes down to you being the teacher, you're more close with being personal and really telling the kids what you're passionate about, which is help cleaning the ocean, because chemistry isn't just with a beaker and a tube, it's all around the world, which is super cool. That happens to be your favorite one, which is about cleaning the oceans. Sticking with the topic of the rock program, going out to schools and hosting little groups and events, I recall back when I was younger, I was in Girl Scouts, and I remember the rock program came, and of course they did the fancy one with the liquid nitrogen, and I just thought that was the coolest thing. So the rock program is definitely super, super cool, and you are sticking locally just with the schools for here and there.
Most of our events are centered around our area, which is always very entertaining nowadays. The more I go out and do it, I've been recognized in public by students going to Walmart or any other little store in Altoona. They'll pass me and recognize me, especially because I used to have colored hair. They'll recognize me in a store and say that that was their speaker in their school, or I've even had students coming to St. Francis now that I've been doing it for a couple years. Freshmen come in whose class I taught like their senior or junior year.
That's also another great aspect of the rock program. You're not just teaching kids that you'll most likely never see again. You are making an impact, and it definitely is an impact because kids did remember you, and they're like, oh yeah, you were the cool dude that taught my chemistry class for a day or two, which is super, super cool. And then with all that time and dedication you put into it, you did mention you've been doing this for a couple years now. Does any of that time you put in get counted towards community service or paid time, or is it you're just a part of the rock program and that's about it?
So for our volunteers that join us, they simply are restricted to volunteer hours. So if you need hours for a class or another organization you're a part of, we gladly accept anyone coming in to get their volunteer hours with us. But as leaders and a director in the program, we have the option to mark down whether or not our hours are for service that we also need for any other organizations that we might be in or classes. Or if we do not need any of our service hours, we do get compensated for those hours.
That is also another plus. So you go around, teach kids, they start to notice you, you get pointed out in public, which is super cool. And you can also get paid if you're in a higher position. If not, you can also get your service hours for Greek life or some other student engaged activity that needs service hours, which is definitely a bonus when it comes to a group program like the ROC program.
And it also looks really good on a resume.
Yes, all of us college students, we love building a resume. That's the goal. Speaking of a resume, you could say the ROC program has a pretty beefy resume. Back when the ROC program started, around circa 1994, circa 1995, during that school year, it just started out with 6 events with 105 participants. So participants can be considered the kids you're teaching or a class you're going into all the time. And now, the 2017 and 18 school year, it has a beefy 216 events with 5,662 participants. So the ROC program has definitely excelled and surpassed everybody's thoughts of what the ROC program would accomplish. And then, I don't know if you'll be able to answer it, but are you able to count or figure out how many service hours, or is it just too big of a number?
Don't generally keep track of how many overall we have. We get submissions from our students that volunteer with us, and since it happens so frequently, we don't keep track of how many service hours we get overall from our students, just from our directors and leaders, how many paid hours.
Okay, sounds good. I got you. So definitely a good thing to keep track of the paid hours. And then, even though you don't keep track, we're just going to assume, since you are accomplishing and going out to so many schools, 216 events now, so we're just going to assume that you are definitely cranking out those volunteer hours, even if you aren't counting them. And then with the exponential increase of the ROC program, where do you see the ROC program going in the future? Are there any special events or special investments going on in the future?
Yeah, so we present this program, since we are partially funded by the American Chemical Society. We present to their conference, and so we like to show that how much our program has grown, but it's kind of started to stall out. With how small of a community we are, we do not have enough people to really go out and continuously grow how many events we are able to go complete with how much our amount of requests have grown. So we have started also then keeping a list of how many events we have not completed and how many estimated students we are not able to reach, to kind of show that committee that this is a growing demand, and to possibly inspire other communities, other schools, other people to start programs similar to ours to spread it even further.
Okay, awesome, cool. And then as we were walking in here to do the podcast, you just happened to mention that you got in contact with your old high school to be able to do a ROC program, so that is definitely cool. And then did I also happen to mention that you got it across the state lines?
Yeah, so we even took it to Ohio recently. We did a conference in Pittsburgh, so a lot of teachers were there from around the area there, including the Ohio Valley. And as soon as I saw that request, I said, I want to be the first director to take it across state lines. And so far, I've now gone to that school twice, and we have started branching out a little bit more in that area, trying to get more events out there to, again, show that it is a demand not just in our little area here in Loretto, but across multiple states now.
And then if you just keep plugging and chugging with what you're doing, you're going to be super popular, not just in the local area. You might happen to be in Ohio, and somebody will be, hey, you're the dude that taught my chemistry class. So super awesome. Big congrats to you to getting it past the state lines for the program. And then you did mention that you're trying to get other communities and other schools to get involved and maybe create their own little mini ROC program. Do you have any special recommendations or any ideas for our fellow alumni, whether they were in the ROC program or even if they never even heard about the ROC program, even if they weren't in it? Do you have any suggestions for them?
Yeah, so we have started to do many community outreach programs. So rather than just staying within schools and classrooms, we've started doing library programs in the later afternoon and almost night times. So anyone from the community is welcome there, students, even adults. So If you're an alumni or just another community member and you would like the rock program to come to your community, you are also just as welcome to contact us as any teacher is.
Okay, awesome. Sounds great. So what we've covered here is that the rock program started with just a couple events, 6 events back in 1994, and then it really cranked up, and now we are definitely conquering around 216 events, which is awesome and amazing. And the rock program isn't just another activity you do. You said that you pour your heart into it, when you're teaching the oceans activity, and then it also is super gratifying when you're just out and about and people happen to notice you. So the rock program is definitely soaring. Just to wrap it up here, what is one goal that you would like to see happen with the rock program, whether you're still involved with it or if you happen to graduate and continue on with your career?
I would definitely love to see the rock program multiply, see other chapters of this rock program spring up in other areas, knowing that I was a part of something that has become such a big deal within almost the scientific community, within not just our area now, but within many communities.
Okay, awesome. So we had Mr. Tozer tell us the wonderful information about the rock program from a first-hand perspective as the student director. We noticed the exponential growth of the rock program. We're teaching kids, we're getting them involved with hands-on activities, and as well as opening their eyes to the wonders of chemistry and science in general. Also, if you want to get involved, just one quick little note again, if you would like to get involved or you just want to check out the rock program some more, feel free to go to stfrancis.com, click on the chemistry tab, and then they have a rock tab. They will definitely answer your questions if you want to get involved with the program or if you'd like the rock program to come to your facility. So I just want to say thank you, Devin, for being on this wonderful podcast. Thank you to Katie and Dr. Zovinka as well. And once again, Devin, thank you for sitting down and giving us wonderful, wonderful information about the program.
Yeah, thanks for having me.